Believe it or not, the 1948 NFL Championship game was played in a complete blizzard and ended with a 7-0 victory by the Philadelphia Eagles. It's hard to imagine a world where the NFL would play its season finale in any weather condition other than perfect. The money printing machine that is the Super Bowl doesn't want to risk its product to something as bad for business as, say, God, so they picked either an indoor venue, a city with nice weather, or both. That being said, surprisingly, many Super Bowls have been subject to less than ideal weather conditions. Let's look at them, shall we? Those times the Super Bowl was played in bad weather is coming up right after this. It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. The season finale of the NFL is set. However, that means only one more game of football. But hey, let's take advantage. Use my code 5points and all first-time users on PrizePicks will receive an instant deposit match up to $100. If you deposit $69, PrizePicks will give you $69. Nice. What you do is pick 2 to 6 players and then decide if they will get more or less of their PrizePick projection. You can win 25 times your money on any entry. I am going out with a bang, and next Sunday, you get a free square with Patrick Mahomes. All he has to do is pass for 1 yard. I've got him. Isaiah Pacheco scoring a TD. Brock Purdy, more pass yards. Deebo Samuel, more reception yards. And George Kittle and Travis Kelce, less reception yards. I could win $440. PrizePicks is always running new and exciting promotions like Demons and Goblins, which is now live for NBA. Take more or less risk to multiply your payouts. Don't forget, these are the eligible states, and the game mode PrizePicks Arena is now available in Tennessee and West Virginia. So after this video, first-time users go to prizepicks.com or download the app from the link below and use my code 5points for a 100% deposit match up to $100. Again, that's promo code 5points on PrizePicks. Super Bowl VI. The coldest Super Bowl, surprisingly, was not Super Bowl 51. It was Super Bowl VI, which took place in a warm weather city. As the Cowboys and Dolphins set to square off in Tulane Stadium in New Orleans, unusually cold weather swept in, and the temperature at kickoff was a brisk 39 degrees, which isn't terrible. And it's crazy to think that only 5 years prior, the Ice Bowl, the 1967 NFL Championship game, was played in minus 13 degree weather on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. The cold might have had some effect on the warm weather Dolphins, who were sloppy and were ultimately defeated 24-3, not even scoring a touchdown. It turns out their offense was more frigid than both the weather and my ex-wife. Super Bowl VII. Now, the hottest Super Bowl wasn't the one with peak Britney Spears as the halftime act. No, that was Super Bowl VII, which took place at the LA Coliseum between the Miami Dolphins and the Washington Redacteds. This time, the Dolphins took advantage of their warm weather conditioning and in the 84-degree heat won the 17th game of their perfect season, becoming immeasurably unsufferable during the process. Now, most Super Bowls hover around 65 to 70 degrees, so 84 was pretty hot. Super Bowl XIV. The windiest Super Bowl ever took place in 1980 in Pasadena, California in the Rose Bowl. The Yinsburg Steelers squared off against the Los Angeles Rams in superb Owl 14, and the day featured 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. The wind didn't seem to have a wild effect on the game. Both offenses were able to pass and score, with the Steelers eventually wresting control and winning 31-19. Both sides were also able to kick field goals. However, Rams kicker Frank Corral did miss an extra point back when those were gimmies from the 2-yard line. This was the windy final chapter of the late 70s Steelers dynasty led by Terry Bradshaw, who now incidentally blows hot air for a living on Sundays.
Throw. I think if this kid ran 5 or 6 runs in a row, I think he'd commit something.
Whoa, that's a little dark for this audience.
Yeah.
Super Bowl XXIV, what's with the Roman numerals? And Super Bowl XL. A Super Bowl has never been played on the field under snowy or icy conditions, but frozen water has affected the conditions outside for sure. Super Bowl 34 was held in the now demolished Georgia Dome in Atlanta. However, unexpected, extremely rare back-to-back ice storms hit the city a week prior to the big game. The ice affected nothing on the field, which famously ended 1 yard short of a TD. The storms caused some canceled flights and did affect a future Atlanta Super Bowl bid, as the city had to show the NFL just how rare those ice storms were, proving God hates the Titans. Nobody was surprised when it snowed in Detroit before Super Bowl XL, as it had also snowed in 1982 prior to the Pontiac Silverdome hosting Super Bowl XVI. Midwesterner problems, am I right?
We're Midwesterners. We decide to live where the air hurts our face.
No worries, inside Ford Field, it was a perfect 68 degrees, and the refs had clear vision into rigging the game for the Steelers, who won 21-10. Super Bowl XLVII. Can these Roman numerals get more ridiculous? Probably just the ugliest Super Bowl ever. The NFL got lucky it somehow wasn't worse. After the 9/11 attacks, the league sought to hold a Super Bowl in one of the metro areas affected by the tragedy. Realizing FedEx Field was unsuitable for even regular season football, the NFL turned to the brand new MetLife Stadium and rolled the dice with an outdoor cold weather city and crossed their fingers that the weather would not affect the game. Despite the Farmer's Almanac predicting snow, which would have been awesome, instead we got peak temperatures of about 49 degrees, and the weather was partly cloudy, a little hazy, but nothing that affected the awful game we saw as the Seahawks beat the Broncos so bad the ref declared it a TKO in the third quarter. The weather was surprisingly warm for the February date and really was the best case scenario. No less than 6 hours after the game ended, the Farmer's Almanac was proved right, with the winter storm moving in on New Jersey and dumping snow on the area like it was your mom. Super Bowl XLVII. Only 1 year before the meteorological miracle at the Meadowlands was the darkest Super Bowl in NFL history, and I'm not talking about Ray Lewis's checkered past. Hosted in, once again, New Orleans, this time at the Superdome, the game suffered a second half power outage which lasted 34 minutes, left most of the stadium dark, and allowed the 49ers to regroup and make the game interesting. In a contest coached by the Harbaugh brothers, an overloaded transformer blew up, causing much of the stadium to lose power and forced Kevin Harlan and Boomer Esiason to fill 34 minutes of airtime, with shots of Ravens and 49er players stretching and Joe Flacco looking as unbothered as Vladimir Putin during a firing squad execution. When the game resumed, the Niners roared back, fell short, then in the waning moments, the Ravens took an intentional safety, causing anyone who took the 49ers at -4 to plunge into utter darkness. And now for the Super Bowl most directly affected by actual weather, Super Bowl XLI. Florida, in particular Miami, is a frequent host of the Super Bowl, and in all the previous times it hosted the big game, there were no issues. However, it is Florida, and rain is always a possibility. In Super Bowl 41, it happened. Not just a sprinkle, but serious torrential rain coming down throughout the entire game. It did affect the on-field play, as both teams combined for 6 fumbles and 8 total turnovers. What was more shocking than the rain itself was that Rex Grossman started at QB for the Bears. Ironically, both the Bears and the Colts were ending long Super Bowl droughts, and despite Devin Hester running the opening kickoff back, the Colts eventually plowed their way to a sloppy victory like me over your mom after your soccer game, son. Go get me a juice box. Prince was the halftime show, which fittingly ended with the performance of Purple Rain. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.